What happens when you play with fire? This man actually found out in 2015, when he hysterically broke down crying during his hearing. Despite the misleading clickbaits, he wasn't sentenced to over 100 years in prison. Jacob was actually sentenced to 15 years. This was for involuntary manslaughter and unlawful conduct, serving his time in state prison with the possibility of parole. Because of this viral video, this has become quite a controversial case, which we are going to unravel today. This is the case of Jacob Morgan. On March 6, 2015, neighbors were watching a house being engulfed in flames, with a man frantically running door to door trying to get help. This man was Jacob. According to investigators, Jacob was playing with matches in his home when a fire broke out, tearing through the property. Onlookers watched as the house slowly burned down, unaware that there was a 14-month-old baby in the house. Jacob very rarely watched his brother, Joshua, and the neighbors assumed that everyone was safe. Despite the blaze, Jacob attempted to run back into the house to save his brother. With the temperature and smoke surrounding the home, neighbors had to stop Jacob for his own safety. Joshua did sadly pass away before the emergency services arrived at the scene. Jacob was described as a low-functioning teenager with autism, with traits of ADHD. When he was stopped from running into the burning building, he felt hopeless, throwing himself to the ground crying, while repeatedly hitting his head off the concrete. Witnesses had reported that Jacob also had a fascination with fire, and would often play with matches, but claimed that he would never intentionally burn a house down, let alone murder his own brother. Jacob didn't typically babysit Joshua, but on this unfaithful day, his father had to drive their mother to work, leaving the two alone in the house for a brief period of time. When they returned, it was already too late. Police apprehended Jacob and took him to a county jail. Once the jurors reviewed the evidence and the confession, they found him guilty of manslaughter. Here's the actual footage of what happened in the courtroom that day.
Testimony, listening to both sides, question testimony. I believe the state has, in fact, met their burden. So therefore, I am going to find that there is probable cause to charge the individual with the down over for General Sessions Court for both charges.
Time served and mental capacity is where the controversy starts. There was no actual evidence that Jacob intentionally set the house on fire. Judging by his reaction as the house burned, his attempts to save the child, and his reaction during the verdict, it truly demonstrated the empathy that he had for his brother. Witnesses have stated that he adored Joshua, and believe it was truly an accident. The mother and father also agree. They even set up a petition to support in getting Jacob released. Newer evidence emerged during his time in prison that disclosed an electrical fault, which was repeatedly reported to the landlord, who refused to fix it. With Jacob's mindset, he was placed in an interrogation room for 5 hours, being pushed towards a confession. Being easily influenced, he confessed to intentionally starting the fire, which was one of the leading exhibits in court. Jacob spent 7 years in prison and was released on the 1st of December 2022 at 10 a.m. He will be living out the remainder of his parole under the care of his parents. There are so many different views on this case, and I would like to hear yours. Was his intentions malicious? Was he pressured into a false confession? Or was this purely an accident? I appreciate the recent support over the last couple of weeks. If you want to support this channel, feel free to hit like and subscribe. Take care of each other out there. The world can be so unpredictable at times.